Can I kick it? Yes, you can. Can I kick it? Yes, you can.
Hey guys, I hope everyone's doing well. Here to do an update on the gaming corner. I'm probably going to do this video in two parts. The first one will cover this kind of box room, or the interesting part, because that part is the office, the worky related bit, where this is the fun side of the rooms. That'll be part one, and then part two will cover some of the other gaming spaces that I've got in my house. And those of you that kind of followed the channel or seen any of the previous videos will know that, I mean, space is a bit of a premium here, so I haven't got too much of it, so therefore I kind of split stuff between here and then a couple of other areas within the house. But we'll cover those other bits on part two. But let's get stuck in and see what's in this room. So if we start with the shelving on the left-hand side of the room, which is just literally to the left of the door, not a massive amount of change here, perhaps a bit more stacking up of stuff, but predominantly, I mean, this shelf is still housing like 99% are 3DS games. So it's like my 3DS collection, which goes on and on and on, and it's double stacked, but I do try and like crop rotate depending on what's being played at any given time. Got a really cool sign that was pulled together by or created by Buttercup, the partner of Roger Retro Gamer. So go and check out their channel if you haven't already subscribed to that. And where I do reference channels, I'll leave a link. Try and remember to leave a link in the description, so go and have a look. But yeah, the 3DS collection, I've tried to, I don't know if I've completely succeeded, but like group it by genre. So here you've got, you know, a bit of Pokemon, some of the Harvest Moon games, a few like platformers. You've got the Rayman games on the right hand side, and then coming down probably more the action orientated games. So you've got obviously some of the Resident Evils, the Tom Clancy's, a few fighters, Street Fighter, etc., Tekken, Dead or Alive, a bit of probably a combination of things in the middle. You've got your Andro Dunos 2, so I've got that in a couple of, I've got a spare there where there was a bit of confusion with the order. I'd done a bit of a bulk order, and I had to wait for the very, very last item, which in fact was the Andro Dunos 2 Dreamcast game to arrive before they released some of the other stuff. So the impatience sodded me, because it was about a year and a half. I ended up buying Andro Dunos 2 on its own, so I'm probably going to move that on at some point. So shout if anyone's interested in grabbing that. A couple of these Ace Combat assault games. The one with the Plus is a bit more sought after. It wasn't particularly easy to find. I wouldn't say it's not like a valuable game. It's probably verging on more like uncommon. So that was one that I struggled to get towards the end of my kind of full set crazy 3DS journey, and I was pretty chuffed and bloody relieved when I did get it. And a few turtle related titles there. So I've got a few turtle games for the 3DS, and then on to it's kind of puzzle section. From the Tetris titles, good old brain training, Mahjong and Sudoku. So these are probably very untouched games by me anyway. I think the wife and the son quite like them. And then I've tucked in here a few of the actual handhelds itself. So I've got 3DS, just normal DS, and then my analog Pocket just chucked in there. Again, quite a few more puzzle games, and then a bit of a Disney section on that side with Chrono Trigger somehow wedged in between. Not entirely sure why that's in there. And then going down a few DS games. So ones that are a bit scattered around, ones that my son jumps on. He's really into his like TV game shows, so you can see like the Cube, Deal or No Deal, all of that stuff. You've got like the abundance of the animal related games Nintendogs and cats and dogs and blah 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 blah, all of that stuff. More DS games in the middle, and then again a bit of a combination, maybe some kind of TV film related tie-ins there, so like Paddington and Hotel Transylvania, so a few of them. And then the final section, obviously I'm only just covering games that are, at the front. I'm not going to get them all out and get to the games at the back, but maybe in another video I'll go through them. Again, quite a medley here. Dual Pen Sports, got some of the Doodle games, Tintin, call them like the Where's Wally games, where you've got to find the items, and kind of puzzle games. So that's the bottom few are quite a lot of them. The Ravenhurst games and the Sherlock Holmes, etc., etc. One which is now, particularly sought after and creeping up a fair bit in value, which is when the 3DS came out, the Louvre is in the museum in Paris. They basically handed out 3DSs to the visitors. Obviously, you can hire them, and then obviously depending on what language they want. So this is you can see it's like the French edition, but they did them in all languages. So as people walk around, they can discover the kind of more history and get a deeper description behind some of the artifacts and things that they were looking at. And I think ultimately you could obviously buy it and take home with you, so you can revisit your journey to the Louvre at your leisure. But pretty. Again, I wouldn't say any of these are like rare, but it's verging on uncommon. When they do pop up, it's unfortunate. It's silly prices. I think people know that it isn't so readily available. So obviously they stick the prices up. So that's that box full of crap. Sort of useful crap, I should say. It's a bit of a mess. Kind of wires, microphones, cameras, spit catchers, the old mics. Fender Telecaster, a bit random. Go and grab that out every now and again. And then if we go to the top, obviously it's the Boulder Hill, like the Mask headquarters. So I had that as a kid. It's not my original one. That long gone. One of the things that I think Mum and Dad kind of moved on. And the box, it sounds bad, but the box probably went on Christmas Day. It was probably thrown out the rubbish day that followed. So I had to re-get that. Got that from Nerdbase a couple of years ago. So really pleased with that. It's all fully complete. Some Star Wars Emperor's Throne Room. So like new Hasbro Kenner stuff at the top. Indiana Jones. More of a mess. Mess up there. Some like guitar MIDI interfaces. And other bits and bobs. And then you'll come to the second video, but when I do want to get stuck into a console that isn't, already plugged in, or if I've got like accessories and stuff for it, then I tend to just put them into these boxes. That's just full of Wii related stuff. I've got Wii set up downstairs, but I think some of the, the guns and things, and some, like I say, some of the accessories, extra nunchucks, leads and all that jazz, they're in there. And at the side, big box, Final Vendetta, random lead. What other stuff have we got? Got some Transformers pop-up books. Put that to one side. Kind of some Ulysses related stuff. Super Turrican, like the box which came with the Super NT. It was just chucked in the box by Analog. A few Blur fans. Got some milk cartons from one of their gigs. So 12th of August 2012. So the tickets were like printed. Some of the tickets were printed on these, but managed to get a batch of those which were unused. You got good old Graham Coxon, the guitarist, on the back. So something a bit different. These here are just full of. This shelf is like Game Boy. It's crazy. Game Boy carts, obviously all loose. Game Boy Advance. As it's more Game Boy that's like stacked to the brim. I think it's my biggest collection bigger than the 3DS. We've got like the Hello Kitty version in there, so a few bits, and then at the bottom Super Metroid, a ton of, not as many, yeah, a few Game Gear games, not as many as there are Game Boy games. Couple of things like the Master System converter, which I put in the top of the Game Gear, laptops and stuff. Box protectors. I'm getting increasingly OCD, so I do love myself some box protectors, and even some of the cardboard inserts for some of the the Game Boy titles, which keep the box in a good shape. But always good to have those around, and they're fairly cheap and cheerful for the likes of even Amazon and obviously eBay, and we get loads of them. And yeah, probably the main shelf, quick whiz, and then we'll go through. So at the top, things which kind of memorable to me, like AD&D, so like Dungeons and Dragons. Love all things D&D related. RoboCop on VHS, so for probably the first 18 I ever watched at a criminally young age when it came out, and blew my mind away. Favourite Star Wars film, Empire Strikes Back on VHS. F1 Race, so for the Game Boy, which has got the 4-player adapter, a couple of Astro City Mini controllers, which are cool. I think one of them's empty because the controller's downstairs. The Warriors, an extremely cool cult film. We found the Betamax version, and then up there you've got a few things. It's like the boxed Game Gear. There's a Game Boy. These are the re-release, not the the old ones, otherwise I'll be sitting on a small fortune. But the Indiana Jones figures, which are really, really cool. Game Boy style watch that my wife got me for anniversary present. A recent pickup from the Nottingham Games Expo, the Nights into Dreams game with the controller. See, they got the Japanese combo packs. I'm really pleased with that. It was Sore Thumbs who was the seller, so they had a stall there. And then Turtles off the back of the recent film, which I watched this week with my son, and amazing film, probably one of the best Turtles films ever. I've got a lot of nostalgia for the first one, perhaps a bit for the second one. But the art style of this, the plot, the kind of characters they throw in, the comedy, the soundtrack is phenomenal. Absolutely bloody loved it. So, and I do crop rotate because you can see behind there's just knock everything over. A bit of Avenger and Dungeon Master. So you probably, because again space is limited, I've got stuff on the shelves, but I move things around as and when I get a bit bored. So here, you've got like 2 shelves, which is my GameCube collection, and then in front of the top shelf, it's just toys, figures that really kind of mean something to me. Like Thundercats, loved that back in the day. Slive, the coolest enemy, an absolutely amazing figure. We've got like Bebop and Rocksteady on either side of the Retro Ed UK bead art. Again, Buttercup kindly made for me, which is cool. No from Ulysses 31. The iconic rocket from Tintin. Destination Moon. Bit of Ghostbusters behind. We've got Samus, kindly gifted to me by Alex from Arcade Archives, and I bought a few other bits. He chucked that in the box. King Kong. Remember watching one of the old ones sitting on my granddad's knee back in the day. I think it's one of my earliest bloody memories, and just being mesmerised by the beast that was on the telly. And found this. I think it was like £2 or £3 in Nerdbase. In one of the little bargain baskets. I don't think it's particularly old. I just love it. It's a cool figure. Got glow in the dark RoboCop because everyone needs a glow in the dark RoboCop. We've got Luke Skywalker with Yoda on his back, and then one of my 2 bootleg Johns, non-posable, no weapons. brilliant. And then yeah, kind of the rest of the GameCube collection. Tintin Car. Again, it was a bit of a late night eBay purchase. We got that for a good price, and I don't know if maybe they did come out over here. It certainly came out in France, but they did like a magazine and vehicle tie-in based on all of the comic books that came out. This one just took my fancy, so I grabbed that. Got a bit of mini disc there, Massive Attack, one of my favourite albums, Blue Lions, Super Famicom disc, Metroid. Cheap and cheerful. It's not retro in the slightest. I guess a good kind of retro inspired design, but Space Shuttle, just a Lego purchase from, it was like Tesco. It was only like £8-9, so mate, it was a bit of fun. Cheeky bit of Silent Hill at the back, and a few kind of rarer games which I tuck away, like for the Wii U we've got Project Zero at the top. And then, special edition for 3DS.
Go ahead. Make my day.
I won't get them all out. So this is a very, very recent pickup on my latest pickups video from Alex, Arcade Archives, but the Samus edition of the 3DS. Then you got the more normal edition. So the red and black. And then the Mario one. So yeah, Super Mario 3D Land. So chuff with them. Dreamcast shelf at the back, but then in the front again very recently, just for display, just to show off the box art. Supposed to have them kind of had them all hidden away and stacked away, but Japanese Mega Drive titles. And then obviously a more recent one, Xeno Crisis. Can't remember where I picked that one up from. It might have been from retrogames.co.uk. And then a bit of Gundam. So you got some Super Famicom, which I literally just wedged at the back for display purposes. And then with these next two shelves, I do quite like to make them a bit more accessible, so I can just grab games, play games, without having to kind of fight over stuff to get to them. So Switch, little Game and Watch there, little odds and sods from back in the day, GBA, Japanese catalogue, which is pretty cool. The proper Rambo, so not a bootleg one, from the awesome Dave, VTR Dave. He kindly sent that on to me with all its weapons. We got controls for the lights in case you want to change colours and have a bit of a disco. And then we've got the second part of all the Switch titles. We've got some of the special editions on the left, from the Turtles through to the perky little things. You've got nice comic books and strategy guides. Another DS at the back. Game and Watch. Had it back in the day, and had to, again in recent years, kind of picked up a nice version of that, which they get harder to find, particularly decent boxes. My favourite, or the GBA games, so there was some Game Boy Advance games we covered off earlier in the video, but these are the ones which are kind of a bit more played than the others, so they're just a bit more easily accessible. I don't know, I can't remember where I got these things from, maybe a Tesco's or IKEA, but they work fine. Instead of makeup and nail varnish and the rest of it, this thing is displaying the Game Boy titles that I probably play the most or enjoy the most. So again, more accessible there than in some of those boxes. And again, I kind of rotate around depending on what I'm playing. And another Buttercup special, that fantastic sign. And then we're on to the Master System collection. I've got quite a few boxed away. So again, this is probably the pricier ones, or the ones that are more played. My favourite bloody game of all time, Chase HQ, awesome shooter, Fantasy Zone, Outrun, friggin' Sega classic. Check out James Retro Import Gamer's video on that, and his recent video he's done covering all his collection, his shrine, I think he calls it. R-Type, fantastic shooter, Shinobi, and then another 3DS, and so on and so forth. And again, I think got Fantasy Zone for the Mark III. Again, fairly cheap and cheerful on eBay. It's a bit of a collector's piece, although I do think I've got one of the attachments for the analog, not the analog, what am I talking about, for the the analog Sega Mega Drive product. So I've got the converters with that, so I can play all sorts of funky Sega stuff. Next, we've just got a big wall of DS games. So there's all sorts in here. There's a few like Japanese ones, and a lot of PAL related ones. I had far more, but I had a proper whittle down and just tried to get to the ones which are more kind of playable, either by my son or myself. So some of the cats and the dogs and all that stuff that made its way outside. More Star Wars stuff. So we've got a cheeky little prototype Chewbacca behind there. We've got the Mandalorian prototype, and then the Boba Fett piece. We then zoom up. One of my favourite things all time. So Return of the Jedi R2D2, the original Kenner from back in the day. Bit of Evercade collection. We've got the Super Famicom, 3DS, got a Greedo, Cops and Crooks. So these, the big versions of these toys that came out back in the day now fetch silly money. So I've got a few of them, but a company certainly they were, I think, released and distributed in Australia, did like sort of mini collection of them all last year. So I had to grab some of them, and then kind of Pumpkin of the Spice Orange, Japanese GameCube. Let's move this out of the way, have a proper look. Got that there, the controller, and then some toys. Love Dr. Octopus, one of my faves. So anything Doc Ock related I can grab, I will do. Bit of Tintin, Spider-Man. Didn't go crazy on the D&D figures. So as well as the Dungeon Master and Avenger ones which you saw before, I've got Presto and Hanks are the ones that are probably more memorable to me, like back in the day. Got Casey Jones from the Turtles, and then we've got a little at the back anyway. We've got the Spectrum collection. So I tried to get all the games that I can remember having back in the day. With the exception of the two Mask games, which I didn't have, but I was really kindly gifted by James Retro Import Gaming when I saw him last year. So added them in. So it mean as much to me as all the other games. So thanks again, James. Really kind of you. And then we've got some figures at the front. So a bit of Turtles with Krang. We've got the Luke Skywalker dressed up as a stormtrooper, and R2. With the pop-up lightsaber, which again they kind of seem to be commanding a bit more and more. Got reproductions of the C-3PO and that R2 on the far right, because they are now just silly money. And even though I had the money, I don't think I love Star Wars a lot, but I wouldn't put my hands deep enough in my pockets to get that kind of cash out, even if I had it. So some of that, and then my kind of pièce de résistance, if that's the right bloody phrase. But Palitoy, obviously in the UK production company for the Star Wars toys back in the day. Obviously US was Kenner, but Palitoy. In Colville, north of England, they made these, and this is one of the, well, it's a 12 pack, so it's the first range of Star Wars figures that ever came out. And one of my favourite card backs and characters. I think is so iconic with the old helmet, the Death Squad commander, or sometimes known as the Death Star commander. But friggin' love him. Let's put him down, put him out of harm's way. We've got the Retro Ed UK sign. If I put that on, it would literally just nuke the video and probably blow up all the electrics. No, just kidding. It is very, very bright, and even, although you can kind of adjust it, it's still too bright for a lot of vids. We've got some Famicom stuff here. So we've got Commando, got some Parodius action, bit of Top Gun, a nice blue kart Star Wars, 1942. I think that's Kid Dracula. Donkey Kong Jr. Bit of Gradius, and yeah, I'm gonna tuck that away at some point. But yeah, Judge Dredd for the SNES. Got a little screen which I can rotate round if I want to play some shooters. Just wait for this thing, see if it's going to focus. It's probably not. And then behind there we've got the like the Switch. And then next up, these are all double stats. Again, maybe in another video I'll reverse them around a bit, but this is all my Game Boy Advance and boxed games, which I've been, recent years just kind of building on, getting whatever I can. They're not all exclusively old games, and you can see there, so still people making new Game Boy games, which is awesome. So Shapeshifters, an example of one of them. Some of the Tintin games, which again I'm super chuffed to get in the collection. I find the writing at the side, it kind of rotates, it varies depending on the game. Some of them are really nondescript, like this one here. It's got a claim, so it's got the developer on the side, but it's Dave Mirra BMX, but it hasn't actually got Dave Mirra on the side, hence Acclaim shows. A little epilogue operator which allows you to play Game Boy games, like USB. You can play it on a laptop. Quite a nice way of doing it, particularly when I like capture. It's very, very clean picture, clean sound, etc, etc. So yeah, a bit of a Game Boy flurry. And then here, Sega's literally up close to Nintendo, because at the front we've got my Super Famicom games, and at the back we've got my Mega Drive, Power Mega Drive games. So again, quite pleased with the Super Famicom collection. You've got to love the box art, really, haven't you, compared to the Power one. I don't know if it's just because it's different to what we had, and maybe that makes it more interesting, or if it's just better art, full stop. I'm leaning towards the latter. And then a fairly modest selection of SNES, so like Super Nintendo games. It's obviously boxed, and then over here we've got, I won't get them all out. Yeah, just the loose carts. So it's one of those, like all Nintendo cardboard. It's pricey. It's getting pricier, and to be honest, sometimes I'm not that fussed if I've just got the cart only versions as opposed to boxed. And that is it, guys. It's a very quick whistle stop tour. Hope you enjoyed. I will follow up with a part 2, and I'll cover off the other areas in the house. Leave me comments below. Anything you like, dislike. I need more space. I'm conscious of that. Any kind of hints and tips to make the space I've got even better. and I love you and leave you. See you on the next one. Cheers.